The forbidden kiss, the human had not planned to be here. He was only a traveler, moving through the star station looking for food, trade, and maybe a quiet corner to rest. The place was filled with light and sound, aliens of every shape moving past. Some had glowing skin, some with metal arms, and some whispered in strange voices. But the human walked quietly, minding his own business. Then it happened. He saw a small figure pushed into the path of a heavy cargo droid. The machine rolled forward fast, its wheels crushing the floor panels. The figure froze, unable to move. The human did not think. He jumped forward, pulling her away at the last second. The droid screeched to a halt, missing them by an inch. The crowd gasped. The girl stared at him with wide silver eyes. Her face was young, soft, and filled with shock. She whispered something he did not understand. Without thinking, the human smiled and pressed a quick kiss on her forehead. "You're safe now," he said softly. The station went silent. The girl blinked, confused. Then her lips curled into a shy smile. But the silence around them grew heavy. The crowd of aliens had stopped moving. Eyes glowed in the shadows. Heavy footsteps echoed. From the edge of the hall, armored guards appeared, their weapons glowing with red light. The human looked around, uneasy. "What, did I do something wrong?" he asked half to himself. Then they came, the sisters. 7 tall figures entered, their robes flowing like rivers of starlight. Each one looked different, yet their faces carried the same bloodline. Their eyes burned with power and pride. They were not just sisters. They were leaders, warriors, and rulers, and the human had kissed their youngest. The eldest sister stepped forward. Her voice was sharp, carrying the weight of command. "Human, do you know what you have done?" The man frowned. "I was only helping her." The machine almost crushed her. Another sister, her eyes cold like ice, hissed, "You kissed her. You sealed her fate, and now you sealed your own." The girl, the youngest, looked confused but not angry. She touched her forehead gently where the kiss had been. "He saved me," she said softly. It was not his fault, but the sisters shook their heads. The eldest raised her hand and the guards formed a circle around the human. "The law is older than memory," she said. "A kiss given to the youngest is not a simple act. It is a vow. It is marriage." The human's heart skipped a beat. He stared at them in disbelief. "Marriage? Wait, what?" That was just a kiss of comfort. It meant nothing. The sisters' laughter echoed like steel on stone. One, tall and fierce, leaned close. "On our world, on every world we rule, a kiss is sacred. By law you must marry, and not just her. All 7 of us." The human froze. His mouth went dry. "Marry all 7? He wanted to laugh, to shout, to deny it, but the weapons around him hummed with deadly energy. He could feel hundreds of eyes watching. The air was heavy with tension, thicker than any chain. He tried to reason. "Look, I didn't know your customs. I didn't mean anything by it. Can't we just forget this ever happened?" The sisters' faces hardened. The eldest spoke again, her tone final. "The law does not care about meaning. The law binds. Refuse, and you will face death." The youngest lowered her eyes, torn between innocence and fear. She had not asked for this either, but her people's law was not a thing to break. The human's mind raced. He was trapped in a game he never chose. A single kiss had become a chain around his life. The silence of the hall grew colder. The crowd waited for his answer. Then from behind the sisters, a voice whispered like thunder, "Let him prove himself." It was another elder, robed in silver and gold. The crowd murmured. The sisters turned to him, their expressions tense. The elder's eyes gleamed as he spoke again. "If the human truly kissed with pure heart, let him face the 7 trials. If he passes, he shall marry and rule beside them. If he fails, his life is forfeit." The human swallowed hard. 7 trials? He did not know what that meant, but the weight of it pressed down on him like a mountain. The sisters looked at him, each with different eyes, some with anger, some with curiosity, and one with quiet kindness. The human stood there alone, surrounded by enemies and bound by a law he never knew existed. One mistake, one kiss had changed his fate forever, and so his story truly began. The ancient law, the hall of the star station, had never been so quiet. Even the machines seemed to pause, their humming fading into silence. The human stood inside a circle of armored guards, their weapons glowing like small suns pointed straight at his chest. The youngest sister clung to her own hands, her silver eyes shining with worry. She looked at him as if she wanted to help but could not. The law was bigger than her. The eldest sister stepped forward. Her presence was heavy, her voice colder than space. "You kissed her," she said. "Do you know what this means?" The human forced a weak smile. "I already told you it was just a thank you. On Earth, a kiss on the forehead is nothing." The eldest's eyes narrowed. Her words struck like iron. On Earth, perhaps. But not in this empire. Not under the law of 7 bonds. The crowd stirred. That name carried weight. Even the guards seemed uneasy at the words the human swallowed. 7 bonds? What's that supposed to mean? Another sister stepped closer. Her hair shimmered like blades of glass and her eyes burned with cold fire. "It is the oldest law of our people," she said. "It cannot be broken. It cannot be questioned. A kiss given to the youngest of our bloodline is a vow. It is a marriage. But not to one. To all." The human blinked, his voice cracking. "All 7 of you? That's insane." The sisters did not laugh this time. They stood tall, their eyes sharp as knives. The crowd leaned forward, hungry for what would happen next. The warrior sister, clad in armor, growled. "This is no joke, human. You are bound. Refuse and the law will crush you. No court, no empire, no army can save you." The human's heart pounded. He wanted to run, but the guards were everywhere. He wanted to argue, but the people's eyes were burning holes into him. Then the eldest raised her hand and the guard stepped back a single pace. She spoke slowly, so every word would cut deep. "The law of 7 bonds was written before our empire was born. It was forged in war when the 7 sisters of the first age bound themselves to a stranger from another world. He became their strength, their shield, their king. Together they ruled the stars. But the vow came with blood. To break it is to bring ruin. To accept it is to share in our power." The crowd murmured again, the sound like thunder rolling in the distance. The human clenched his fists. He had never asked for this. He had never wanted power or thrones. He only wanted to survive. But now the law was closing on him like a trap. The assassin sister, shadows curling around her, leaned close. Her voice was a whisper, but sharp like poison. "You can die here quickly, or you can take the path of trials. If you pass, you marry us all. If you fail, your death will be slow and the galaxy will remember you as a fool." The youngest sister shook her head, her voice breaking. "He saved me." He didn't know the law. "Can't we show mercy?" But mercy was not a word in their empire. The eldest lifted her staff, its crystal glowing with ancient fire. "The law is not mercy. The law is survival. And by the law he must prove himself. 7 trials. 1 for each sister. Only then will we know if the bond is real, or if he is nothing but dust." The human felt the eyes of thousands pressing down on him. The crowd wanted blood or glory or both. His mouth was dry, his voice hoarse. 7 trials? What kind of trials? The warrior sister smirked. "Strength, wisdom, loyalty, cunning, heart, spirit, and truth. Fail even one, and you die." The silence that followed was like the pull of a black hole. Heavy. Endless. The human looked at the sisters, each one different. Warrior, healer, scientist, assassin, diplomat, mystic, and the youngest dreamer, each one powerful, each one dangerous, and all of them bound to him now by a kiss he never meant he could not escape. He could not fight the law. His only path was forward. The youngest whispered again, her eyes full of something no law could chain. Hope. "Please, survive." The hall exploded with sound. Drums thundered, lights flared, and the trials were announced. The human's fate was sealed. The ancient law had claimed him, and so the game of survival began. The sisters' challenge. The hall still shook from the echo of the drums. The human stood in the center, surrounded by guards and thousands of alien eyes. He felt small, almost invisible, yet every gaze was locked on him. The eldest sister raised her staff again, her voice carrying across the chamber like a storm. 7 trials. 7 sisters. If the human is worthy, he will survive. If not, his blood will mark the law's warning for all time. The crowd roared. The human clenched his fists. He wanted to shout that this was madness, that he never asked for any of this, but no one would listen. The law was older than him, older than Earth itself. The sisters moved closer, their figures surrounding him like stars around a black sun. Each one was different, but their unity was terrifying. The warrior sister stepped forward first. Her armor gleamed, forged from dark metal and glowing lines of energy. She was taller than him, her muscles sharp and carved, her eyes burning with fire. "My name is Vera," she said, her voice like thunder. "First of the 7. My trial will decide if your body is worthy of the bond." The human swallowed hard. "And if I fail?" Her lips curled into a cruel smile. "Then your bones will feed the arena." The crowd screamed in approval. Before he could speak, the floor beneath him shifted. The panels groaned and split apart. Light poured from below and the ground fell away. He was standing on a rising platform, lifting him high into the air. The roar of the crowd grew louder as walls of steel unfolded around him. The arena had awakened. It was massive, half mechanical, half alive. The ground pulsed with shifting plates, glowing veins of energy running through them. Weapons lined the walls, claws of metal and strange alien devices that he did not understand. Above, the sky was sealed by a dome, filled with the eyes of the crowd looking down like hungry gods. Across from him, Vera rose on her own platform, armored from head to toe. Her weapon was a spear of pure light humming with deadly power. "This is the trial of strength," she declared. "Survive me or die." The human's heart hammered in his chest. He had no armor, no weapon, nothing but his own body and his will. He muttered to himself, "Great, a trial by combat, against a giant alien with a laser spear. Perfect." The gong sounded. Vera charged. Her spear sliced the air with blinding speed. The human barely rolled aside, the energy scorching the ground where he had stood. The shockwave sent him tumbling, his ribs aching. He scrambled to his feet as the crowd cheered. She came again, her strikes heavy and precise. He dodged, barely keeping distance, his lungs burning. She was faster than he expected, faster than anyone that size should be. "Pathetic," she growled. "Is this the strength of humans? No wonder your kind never ruled the stars." The human gritted his teeth. He couldn't outmatch her in power. But maybe he didn't need to. He scanned the arena, eyes darting. The ground pulsed with energy, the gravity fields shifting unpredictably. One moment his steps were light, the next they were heavy. Vera's weight slowed her when the pull grew strong. That was it. He let her chase him, weaving, dodging, forcing her into the changing gravity. When it grew heavy, she slowed. When it grew light, she stumbled with her own momentum. The human stayed just out of reach, buying time, learning the rhythm. Vera snarled, slamming her spear into the ground. The shockwave knocked him off his feet, pain exploding through his body. The crowd howled for blood. She raised her weapon high, ready to finish him. And then, he saw it, the energy veins that pulsed across the floor. They reacted to movement, to pressure. When her spear struck, they flared bright, almost like nerves. He rolled, grabbed a loose shard of metal from the floor and hurled it with all his strength. It struck one of the glowing veins. The ground under Vera's feet exploded upward, throwing her off balance. The crowd gasped. The human scrambled up, racing forward. He had no weapon but his fists. He struck her knee, then shoved with all his weight. She stumbled again, her spear slicing the air inches from his face. He rolled away as the gravity shifted to lightness. Vera leapt at him, but her strength betrayed her. The force sent her flying higher than she intended. For one split second, she was exposed. The human grabbed her spear midair. The energy burned his palms, but he twisted, using her own momentum against her. With a shout, he drove the weapon into the ground beside her. The energy discharged, blasting the floor apart. Vera was thrown back, crashing hard against the wall. The crowd went silent. The human stood, chest heaving, palms bleeding, his body shaking. He hadn't beaten her with strength. He had beaten her with survival, with cunning. Vera rose slowly, her armor cracked, her eyes blazing. For a moment, the human thought she would strike again, but instead she dropped her spear and bowed her head. "You are not strong," she said, "but you are dangerous. You live where you should die. You fight where others fall, perhaps. That is strength." The crowd erupted with thunderous cheers. The human stood tall, though his body trembled. One trial was done. 6 remained. He looked up at the sisters watching from above. Some looked displeased, others thoughtful. The youngest smiled faintly, relief in her eyes. But deep inside, the human knew this was only the beginning. The trials ahead would not just test his body. They would break his mind, his soul, his very heart, and he had no choice but to face them all, trial by wisdom. The arena fell silent. The human stood in the center, bruised, bleeding, but alive. He had survived the warrior sister. The crowd still roared his name, half in mockery, half in respect. But above, the sisters' eyes were cold. The eldest raised her staff once more. 1 trial complete. 6 remain. The next belongs to Solara, the mind of the 7. The ground beneath him shifted again. The walls of the arena dissolved into streams of light, and the human felt his body pulled down into darkness. When the world returned, he was no longer in a steel cage. He stood in a strange, endless chamber. The walls were mirrors stretching forever. The air was heavy, humming with invisible power. His reflection looked back at him 1,000 times, but something was wrong. Some of the reflections were delayed, others smiling when he was not. From the shadows, she appeared. Solara, the second sister. She was no warrior. She wore robes woven with lines of silver light, and her eyes glowed like galaxies, cold and endless. She carried no weapon. Her mind was her blade. "Welcome to my trial, human," she said softly, her voice echoing in the mirrored walls. "Here, strength means nothing. Here, only thought can save you." The human took a slow breath. "I'm guessing this isn't a chess match." She tilted her head. "You will face puzzles, illusions, truths hidden inside lies. Fail, and this chamber will unmake your mind until nothing remains. Succeed, and you walk free." The floor rippled like water. The mirrors shifted, forming new walls, new paths. The chamber became a maze of glass. "Begin," Solara whispered, and her voice vanished into echoes. The human moved forward cautiously. Every turn looked the same, glass walls, endless reflections. Some mirrors showed him older, some younger. Some didn't show him at all. He pressed his hand to one mirror and his reflection pressed back, except its smile was too wide. The glass cracked under his touch and the reflection whispered, "Turn left." "The right path kills you." The human pulled back, his skin crawling. "Great, now the walls talk." He turned left, but every step felt like walking deeper into a trap. The maze shifted. Suddenly, he was standing in front of 7 doors, each glowing a different color. Red, blue, green, gold, black, silver, white. Above them, alien symbols glowed. Solara's voice filled the chamber. 7 doors. 6 lead to death. 1 leads forward. Choose. The human stared. He couldn't read the symbols. He had no clue. Then he noticed something. In the mirrors around him, each door appeared, but in one reflection, the gold door flickered strangely, like it wasn't real. He narrowed his eyes. A fake? He chose the silver door. The moment he touched it, the others burst into flames. The silver one opened silently, and he stepped through. Solara's laugh echoed low and chilling. "Not bad, human. You learn to doubt even your own eyes. Good. You will need that." The next chamber was worse. He stood on a bridge of glass suspended over an endless void. In the center was a table with 2 cups, one filled with clear liquid, the other with black. Solara appeared again, her eyes cold. "1 cup is water. 1 cup is poison. Drink and you may pass. Refuse and you fail." The human frowned. "Classic. Thanks for the hospitality." He stared at the cups. Both shimmered strangely. Then he noticed the black liquid reflected light correctly. The clear one did not reflect at all. "Too perfect," he muttered. He reached for the black cup and drank. For a second, fire burned in his chest. He staggered, nearly falling off the bridge. Then the pain vanished. His body steadied. The cup dissolved into smoke. Solara's smile flickered, the first hint of surprise. "Interesting. Most choose what looks safe. You chose what looked true." The human wiped his mouth. "Guess I'm still alive." "Next trick?" The bridge vanished. He dropped into another chamber. This time the walls showed visions of Earth, his home. But the images were wrong. Cities burning. Oceans black with oil. His people enslaved. Solara's voice whispered in his mind, "Your world will fall. Your people are weak. Why fight for them? Kneel and I will end your suffering now." The human's chest tightened. He saw children in chains, faces twisted in pain. It felt real. Too real. His knees almost gave way, but then he remembered the youngest sister's eyes filled with hope. "Please survive," he clenched his fists. "Nice try, mind games. That's not my world, not yet. And I won't let it become that." The vision shattered like glass. The chamber went dark. Solara appeared before him, her expression unreadable. For a long moment she only studied him. Then slowly she bowed her head. "You saw through the lies. You faced fear without surrender. Perhaps your mind is not so small after all." The mirrors dissolved. The human fell once more, then landed back in the arena. The crowd roared, half in awe, half in fury. The eldest sister nodded. 2 trials complete. The human lives. Solara returned to her place among the sisters. Her gaze lingered on him, colder than before but also sharper, as if he had earned her attention. The human wiped sweat from his brow. His body still ached from the first trial, and now his mind throbbed from the second. But he was still standing, 2 trials down. 5 remained, and the next would be worse. Much worse. Trial by loyalty. The human's knees nearly buckled as he returned from Solara's maze. His body was sore from the warrior's trial, and now his mind ached from puzzles and lies. The crowd cheered, but their voices sounded distant, like echoes inside a nightmare. Above, the sisters stood unmoving, 7 shadows against the glowing dome. Then one figure stepped forward, the assassin sister. Her name was Naira. She wore no armor, no robes, only a cloak that seemed to drink the light around her. Her eyes glimmered like blades in the dark, sharp and merciless. She carried no weapon that he could see, but the human's instincts screamed that she was more dangerous than the warrior and the scientist combined. Her voice was calm, but every word cut like a knife. This is the trial of loyalty. It will not test your strength. It will not test your mind. It will test your heart. Betray us, betray yourself, and you die. The ground beneath the human cracked open again. He fell into blackness, the roar of the crowd vanishing like someone had sealed the universe away. He landed in a city. Not the alien star station. No, this was Earth. His Earth. Tall buildings stretched into the sky. Neon lights flickered. But something was wrong. The air was heavy, thick with smoke. The streets were empty, silent, except for the hum of machines. Home, a voice whispered in his ear. He spun around and froze. His best friend stood there, a face he knew from Earth. Someone he had shared meals with, laughed with, trusted, but how? He hadn't seen another human since leaving Earth. Good to see you, man, his friend said, smiling wide. Come on, let's get you out of here. We can go home. The human's chest tightened. Was it real? Could it be? But then he remembered Solara's illusions. Naira's test would not be simple. Nothing here could be trusted. He narrowed his eyes. You're not real. This is her trick. His friend's smile faded. Trick? After everything we've been through? I'm here to help you. You don't belong with them. You don't belong in this madness. Come back with me. The human's hands shook. His heart wanted to believe. His head screamed no. The city flickered. The buildings melted into shadows. Suddenly he was standing before the 7 sisters, but they looked different. Their faces were cruel, twisted. The youngest stepped forward, her silver eyes filled with false anger. You fool. You think we need you? We only wanted your death. You are nothing to us. The others laughed, voices sharp like glass. The human's stomach dropped. Their words felt real, cutting into him like claws. Was this true? Were the sisters only playing with him? He clenched his fist. No. No, you're not real. You're her test. Just shadows, but his chest hurt. His thoughts spun. What if they truly despised him? What if every trial was only a cruel game before they killed him anyway? The shadow shifted again. Now he saw his own people. Humans chained, beaten, begging for his help. Their voices filled the air. Where are you? Why did you leave us? You kissed an alien girl and now you forgot us. You betrayed Earth. The human dropped to his knees. The voices drilled into his skull. He wanted to cover his ears, but the words came from inside him. Nira's voice slithered through the air like smoke. Loyalty, human. Who do you serve? Them, yourself, or the ghosts of your dying world? Choose. But know this, one choice will destroy you. The human closed his eyes. His breathing grew fast. The illusions pressed harder, trying to break him. He saw his friend again, smiling, holding out a hand. Come home. Forget them. Forget the law. He saw the twisted sisters laughing. You are nothing. Just a toy. Die for our amusement. He saw his people crying out, accusing him of betrayal. 3 paths, all poison, but then he remembered the youngest sister's voice. Please survive. It was not cruel. It was not false. It had been soft, trembling, but real. She had wanted him to live. She had wanted him to fight. He clenched his jaw. His heart steadied. He stood tall. I don't serve shadows. I don't serve lies. My loyalty is my own, and I won't let you break it. He shouted the words into the dark. The illusions shattered like glass. The city, the chains, the twisted faces gone. Only silence remained. Nira appeared before him, her cloak rippling like smoke. For the first time, her expression was not cruel. It was thoughtful. You refused every chain, she said softly, even when your heart ached. Even when fear tried to break you. She stepped closer, her gaze sharp. That is loyalty. Not blind devotion, not empty vows. Loyalty that chooses truth even when truth hurts. She vanished and the darkness dissolved. The human was back in the arena. His body shook, his breath ragged. Sweat poured down his face. The crowd was silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in thunderous noise. The eldest sister spoke, her voice carrying over the chaos. 3 trials complete. The human still stands. Nira returned to her place among the sisters. She said nothing, but her eyes lingered on him. Not with scorn, but with something sharper. Respect. The human dropped to one knee, exhausted. His body was breaking, his mind fraying, but his heart was still his own. 3 trials down, 4 remained, and the next would tear at his soul in ways he could not yet imagine. Trial by spirit. The human stood in the arena, his body shaking, his mind raw. 3 trials had torn at him, strength, wisdom, loyalty. He should have been broken already, but somehow he still stood. The crowd roared his name, half in scorn, half in awe. The sisters watched in silence. Then one of them stepped forward, the mystic. Her name was Illyra. She was cloaked in deep blue robes, her face hidden behind a mask of silver and crystal. Strange runes glowed across her arms, shifting like living fire. Her very presence made the air colder, heavier, as if gravity itself bowed to her will. Her voice was soft, yet it rang inside his chest like a bell. This is the trial of spirit. It cannot be fought with strength. It cannot be solved with cleverness. It cannot be endured with lies. Only your soul will answer. If your spirit breaks, you are lost. The human licked his lips nervously. And if I win? Her masked face tilted slightly. Then you will walk where few ever have. Into the place between life and death. Into the truth of who you are. She raised her hands. The arena vanished. Darkness. Not empty darkness, but living darkness. It pulsed, breathed, whispered. The human floated in it, weightless, his body gone. Only his awareness remained. Then the whispers grew louder. Voices, thousands of them. Some angry, some pleading, some weeping. They were not alien voices, they were human. His people. Their words burned into his mind. You left us. You fight for them, not us. You are nothing but a fool. He tried to shout back, but he had no mouth. He had no body. Only thought. Only pain. The darkness shifted, forming shapes. He saw Earth again, but not as before. He saw graves, millions of them stretching forever. He saw faces of people he once knew, all staring at him with hollow eyes. His chest tightened, though he had no chest. His spirit trembled. Then came the visions of himself, not one, but many. Reflections of the human, each twisted. One showed him as a coward, running from every fight. Another showed him as a tyrant, wearing the sisters' crowns, ruling the galaxy with cruelty. Another showed him broken, begging for mercy, forgotten by all. The reflections spoke as one. This is you, weak, corrupt, worthless. Is this who you are? The human's thoughts twisted. Was it true? Was this all he could become? The darkness pressed tighter, squeezing like a hand around his very essence. Then a faint light appeared, small, fragile, but real. He turned toward it. It flickered like a candle in a storm. And in that light he saw her, the youngest sister. Not twisted. Not false. Her silver eyes glowed with the same soft hope he had seen before. Her voice echoed, pure and trembling. Please. Survive, the human spirit steadied. The darkness pressed harder, but he pushed back. No, he thought fiercely. That is not me. I am not your tyrant. I am not your coward. I am not your broken shadow. I am me. I am still standing. The reflections screamed, shattering like glass. The graves burned away. The voices fell silent. The darkness recoiled. But it was not over. The void split open, and something older than the sisters rose before him. A figure of fire and shadow, vast and endless. Its voice shook the fabric of space itself. You dare resist? It boomed. You are only human. A spark in the void. You cannot stand against the eternal. The human trembled. This was no illusion. This was something deeper. The trial was not just from Elira, it was from the very bond itself, the ancient force that ruled the sisters' law. His spirit quaked. For one heartbeat he almost surrendered, but then he remembered every step. Surviving the arena, outsmarting the scientist, defying the assassin. He remembered the youngest size, and he answered the void. I may be only human, but I am still here. Still alive, still fighting, and I will not break. The figure roared, fire spilling across the void, but the human spirit held firm. His will blazed brighter than fear, brighter than despair. The void cracked. Light burst through, shattering the shadow into dust. The darkness shrieked and vanished. The human gasped as he collapsed back into the arena. His body returned, trembling, drenched in sweat. He fell to his knees, clutching the floor, lungs burning as if he had been drowning. The crowd was silent. They had seen him fall into the void. Few ever returned. Elira lowered her hands. Her mask tilted, and though her face was hidden, her voice carried something rare. Respect. You walked the void and did not break. You faced yourself and did not flee. Your spirit endures. The eldest sister raised her staff. 4 trials complete. The human still stands. The crowd erupted, the sound shaking the dome. The human pushed himself up, though his body trembled. His spirit still burned, raw but unbroken. He had faced something larger than death itself and survived. 4 trials down. 3 remained. But deep inside, he knew. The next ones would not just test his body, his mind, or his soul. They would test everything. And the end was coming, the final choice. The human stood trembling in the arena. His body was scarred, his mind heavy, his spirit raw. He had faced strength, wisdom, loyalty, and spirit, and somehow he still breathed. The crowd was no longer mocking. They no longer laughed at the fragile human. Now their voices thundered like storms. Some shouted his name. Others cursed him as a danger. But no one was silent. Above him, the 7 sisters stood in their circle, glowing in the light of the dome. Their eyes were sharp, unreadable. The eldest raised her staff one final time. The trials are complete. The human has endured what none outside our bloodline ever have. By law, the bond is forged. He must now face the last step. Her words froze the crowd. The air grew heavy. What last step? The human asked, his voice hoarse. The warrior sister, Vera, smirked. Marriage is not a crown you simply wear. It is fire, it is blood, it is choice. The scientist Celara added coldly, the law binds, but the bond must also be accepted. The assassin Nira leaned forward, her eyes glinting. Now we see your truth. The mystic Elira whispered, the trial of truth. The arena floor opened, revealing a massive platform that rose from the depths. On it lay a glowing circle of runes, ancient and alive. The human was pulled toward it, guards forcing him to the center. The sisters descended, standing around him, 7 points of power. The runes blazed, and the air burned with energy. The eldest spoke again, her voice like iron. Here is your choice, human. You kissed the youngest, and the law binds you to all of us. But the bond must be sealed willingly. If you accept, you will marry the 7 sisters, join our bloodline, and rule beside us. If you refuse, the bond will break and the law will kill you. The crowd gasped. The human's chest tightened. So this was the end. Accept or die. But the sisters' eyes told another story. They were not united. Some looked at him with pride, some with hunger, some with curiosity, and the youngest, her eyes begged him to choose carefully. He swallowed hard. You mean, after all this, I still get a choice? The eldest's face was stone. Yes, but remember, every choice has weight. The runes glowed brighter. Suddenly, visions exploded before him. He saw himself accepting the bond, wearing robes of power, standing beside the sisters, ruling empires. Armies bowing before him, planets trembling at his word. Power beyond anything a human could dream. Then another vision, himself refusing. His body burning, his name erased, his story ending here. The crowd roared. The voices filled his head. Choose, choose, choose. But then a third vision came, one not given by the law, a vision of walking away, of refusing both power and death, a path no one expected. The human clenched his fists. His heart pounded. He looked at the sisters one by one. The warrior's eyes demanded strength. The scientist's eyes demanded reason. The assassin's eyes demanded cunning. The mystic's eyes demanded faith. The diplomat's eyes demanded control. The healer's eyes demanded compassion. And the youngest's eyes only begged him to live. He raised his voice, strong despite his pain. I see your law. I see your power. And I see your trap. You want me to accept and be your bond. You want me to refuse and die. But I will not let your law decide who I am. The crowd gasped. The sisters stiffened. The human pointed to the glowing runes. I passed your trials not because I wanted your throne. Not because I wanted your power. I survived because I refused to give up. That is my truth, the youngest sister whispered. He speaks against the law, the eldest snarled, raising her staff. Then he chooses death. But before she could strike, the runes shifted. The circle flared with blinding light, and the ancient voice of the bond itself filled the air. Truth accepted. The vow cannot bind unwilling flesh. The human has spoken his spirit. The law bows, the arena shook. The sisters staggered. The crowd fell into stunned silence. The bond had never bent before, never broken, but now for the first time it shifted. The eldest shouted, furious. This cannot be. The law is eternal. But the mystic Elira lowered her mask. Her voice trembled. No, the law is not eternal. The law is bound to truth, and his truth is stronger than ours. The human stood tall, though his body trembled. I will not marry by force. I will not die by your chains. My choice is my own. The light flared one last time, then vanished. The runes dissolved. The bond was broken. Silence. Then the crowd erupted in chaos. Some screamed in rage. Some cheered wildly. The sisters stood frozen, their bond shattered. For the first time in their history, the law had been defied. The youngest stepped forward, tears in her eyes. She whispered so only he could hear, You changed everything. The human turned, exhausted, broken, but free. No, I just stayed human. And with that, he walked away from the circle, leaving the sisters, the law, and the galaxy to face the storm his choice had unleashed.